have a bunch of denim scraps that I'm going to use for this project. Here I'm removing the belt loops and the label. I will reuse these at a later time. This is like a scalpel knife. I prefer it to the seam ripper. If I can find the link, I'll put it below. I'm also taking out the zipper because again I can use this at a later time. I'm cutting open this seam and then I'll lay it down flat and sew that down, and that way I can keep the design but the fabric lies flat. Now I'm going to sew down this seam and this seam. Here I want to add a scrappy border, so I'm going to cut some squares out of scraps of denim. So I'm just sewing them right sides together, just the width of my foot. I'm not doing anything specific, but I am going to turn the stitch down to regular stitch length. I'm going to top stitch these afterwards to give them a design. I'm going to just press these all over to the one side, to the same side, so that I can top stitch them down. I'm going to top stitch 2 rows down each seam, and then I've decided to do a embroidery decoration down the centre of each one. I'm lining this up with the straight line on my mat, so that's roughly straight, and then I'll see what I've got here. Let's put it on the 8th line, let's flick it over, put it onto the 8-inch line and pin that down. So I'm going to go and sew that down and then top stitch it. Cut a strip of denim that is 7 inches, and I'm going to add it to the bottom here and then top stitch it twice like I did above. I'm just going to fold it at the sides here, make sure the top's all okay. I'm happy with that. Bottoms, everything's good. Okay, and now I'm just going to cut it. I have this cap fabric that I want to use and cut out the pores and use as a applique, and I have these acrylic template circles that I'm going to use. Easy Steam Light, and it's a two-sided fusible. I'm just going to draw some circles. I'm going to cut these out and lay them on the fabric where I want to fussy cut them. I'm just going to press that down and seal that to the fabric. Using a fabric marker, I'm going to draw around the paw print and cut that out. I'm going to repeat that with some other colours. Press those down and I'm going to go and applique around the edges. Lay a zigzag stitch with the stitch width at 2.6 and the stitch length at 0.4, and I've got an open toe applique foot on so that I can see where the needle goes. I made these two applique patches and I'm going to use them to decorate the apron. Here I decided to cut a hole in the denim and then I scraped the edge with a seam ripper because I wanted to create a frayed edge look. Add some more fusible to the top of the head part so that we can stick it to the denim. I want to use a contrast colour denim for the top part of the apron, and I found these scraps of black jeans that I have lying around. So here I am cutting off all the pieces that I don't need right now. I like undoing the seams of jeans that have been like stone washed and distressed and things like that, because you get all the different colours come through. I've cut the patch at the leg and I'm going to have the cat half in and half out of the pocket. Here I'm trimming around the outside edge of the applique patch. Raw edge applique, it's basically like just drawing it with a pencil and going over it a couple of times. So you don't want to be going over the same stitches twice. You want that drawn, rough drawn look. folding this in half, finding the center, and I'm just going to cut it straight. I want it going up at an angle. Using adding machine tape and a selection of colours of my scraps, I'm going to go over to the machine and make some strips. This is 3 inches wide and this is adding machine roll. So the first fabric, it doesn't matter what your strips are, what width, so long as they cover the tape. So you put your first one down and then the next one would be right sides together. So I will cut all these down afterwards, trim them all back. And just sew straight through the tape. I have a small stitch length of 1.6 because we're going to be cutting this up and I don't want the stitches to come undone. Just give it a finger press. If you want to, you can just put a pin in that edge to help hold it down. And then grab your next fabric. Right sides down, make sure it's covering the whole of the paper. Now what I would do here is cut that off. I'm going to cut that off as well. I might be able to put those aside so I can use them further on down. Give it a finger press and just keep going till you've got as long as you need or you want. I've cut some 4-inch strips of black fabric and I'm going to sew these together to make one long strip and mark the centre of your fabric. So I know this is 4 inches wide, so I'm just going to draw a line 2 inches down, all the way down this fabric on the wrong side. And then what I'm going to do that all the way down, and then I want to bring the raw edges into that centre line and press that down flat as well. So just repeat, bringing the raw edges into the centre and pressing it down. And we're going to do that all the way along the black fabric. Now I want to do exactly the same with the scrappy fabric. Now what we do is, with the wrong side of the fabric facing up, so the raw edges facing up, and then these, the raw edges facing down, lay them on top of each other, centralising the fabrics. We're going to sew 1/8 of an inch down one side and then 1/8 of an inch down the other side to secure those two fabrics together. So this end strip of the fabric, bring the raw edge in about 1/2 inch and press it down, and the same for this one. To tuck the raw edges in, fold those back up, press that back down, and the same here. So now we've got a nice neat tidy end, and we're going to repeat that all the way down the fabric so we've got one long thin strap. For this I'm going to use my stitch in the ditch foot, and I like this because it has got this guide and it just helps with top stitching. It just gives a nice neat job, and I just love the way it's easy. So I'm using that. It's called a stitch in the ditch, and I'm moving my needle far over to the left and a stitch length of about 3 back stitch. finished my strap. I've sealed the one end, but I've left the other end open in case I need to add to the length. I've decided not to use this, so I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to cut that off. So I'm sewing those down, and I'm sewing this down. So I'm going to cut two 20-inch strips. On the end, not now, but when I've finished, I'm going to unpick that, fold the edges in, and finish those off. Cut a piece of lining fabric using the outer as the template. Lay the fabrics wrong sides together so the right side's facing out, and pin the lining to the main outer fabric. Draw a 1-inch line on the outer and the lining fabric on the wrong side. And we're going to fold this over and press it a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So bring the raw edge down to that drawn line, and that gives you a 1/2 inch fold. And the same for this side. And that will give us a neat edge at the top. And now I'm going to mark the place for my strap, so I'm going to bring that down another 1/4 inch and draw a line. Okay, and bring it in 1/2 inch, and that's where I'm going to line up my straps, right sides facing down, and pin that down. I'm going to add bias tape around the outside edge. I found this scrap bit of black which I think will work perfect on this apron. I'm going to sew it along that 1/8 inch fold line. And I'm running my needle along that fold. Oh my gosh, just fold over, will you? All right, let's get you pinned down with the needle. Okay. All right, so my machine is now holding that down. Pull it and fold it, and you want to cover your stitch line underneath from the front. Like I said, bigger binding for this thickness of fabric would have been much simpler. And I'm just going with what I've got. Now I can see this might cause a problem here. And it's fine on the back, so I'm just going to pull it over. I want to put a keyring here. I've got this D-ring and I can put that on there and hang that from underneath, sew that on there, which would work, and I could just use that. And then attach that to my D-ring. So I need to go and sew that down onto my ring. I'm going to unpick it here. These are all things that could have been done before, and I think I'm going to cut it there, stop the edges from fraying, and then that'll just slide under there and push it right up, and I'll just stitch that back down. So I clipped it around my neck and it sort of sits around there. See what that measures at. From the top, that's 12.5 inches. So let's measure 12.5 inches from this one. So I'm going to put cam snaps in this every 2 inches so that it's fully adjustable, and I'm going to finish off these ends. And there's that one. So there's my neck strap done, and I'm going to do exactly the same for the waist. I've found this old t-shirt of mine from, oh my god, years and years and years ago. I mean, look at the size of it. And it's got my name on it in rhinestones. So guess what? I'm going to use it. I'm going to put it on to a scruffy denim patch and put it on the bib. So I've finished it. So yep, that's my my apron for work. Well, it's free work. I volunteer at Friends of the Animals, which is a thrift store, but it's for our local county animal shelter, and it's, well, it is cats and dogs animal shelter, which is why I got a cat and a dog. Yeah, I love it. I love it, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial.